What's going on, guys? Eric from TheWiscoGuyz, and in today's video we're going to be working on the Chevy Impala, or as some people say, the Finlander Cadillac. So this is my 2012 Chevrolet Impala, and in 2012 they ended up putting a different motor in here, which we explained in that last video. If you haven't seen it, I kind of revealed this car. So this is 2012 Chevy Impala LT, and we're going to change the oil on it. But this has the 3.6 liter V6, which is the first year in the Chevy Impala. So I'm currently on a lift for this, and the only reason I am on a lift is to show you guys how to do this. You can do it on the ground in your driveway. Actually, there's a guy I watched, he did his on the ground in the driveway. So I'm only showing you on a 2-post lift just so I can get everything raised up and I can show you where everything is underneath and on the ground. And if you're a bigger guy like me, you can always put it on ramps and get the front end elevated. This is the 3.6 liter that GM started putting in their cars back in 2000, I believe 10, somewhere around there. I think this ended up in it was in the Camaro, I'm pretty sure. I think it ended up in there. So this is in a lot of the GM vehicles, dual overhead cam, 3.6 liter GM V6. So first off, what I like to do is I like to check the oil level before we even start, and making sure the car is, of course, on level ground, which it is. It's on the ground. So I'm gonna check that real quick. And usually I like to let the vehicle warm up before we do an oil change too. So as you can see there, they're still in the fill range, or not the fill range, but the good range. This oil change I think has got about 3,500 miles on it. I've never changed the oil on this car yet. I've owned it since September of 2024, and it is now end of December. So I've been running the oil. It looked like he changed the oil before I bought it, the old owner. So now that that's checked, I like to take off the oil cap. And what I usually do is I like to put that in the latch, so when you go to shut the hood, you can't shut it, and you're like, why can't I shut the hood? And now you won't forget that. So all right, next thing is I like to check on any other fluids really as we go along here. Power steering fluid looks good, probably overfilled, but looks good. Transmission fluid, it's down here on this Impala. I like to just make sure there's something in there, and there is. So yeah, that looks good. I always check that regularly, because it does have a little seep to it. All right, at that point, once you get everything checked in the up top of the engine, you want to check your coolant too, and make sure you got coolant in there, which this does. So now I'll lift the vehicle and we can get underneath there and we can check out where everything is for oil plug and everything like that. Oil pan, all that stuff. The oil filter is up top, but we'll do that after we drain the oil. We now have the vehicle lifted up, and our main focus here is on the oil pan. As you can see, the oil pan is located kind of more towards that passenger side, and it's right here, as well as the oil drain plug right there. And the oil drain plug is a 15 millimeter. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna loosen that up. And that was pretty tight, not over tight, but tight. So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna loosen that up by hand. All right, we're gonna let that drain for a little while until we get to just one small drip. So we'll let that do its thing, and once that's done, we'll we'll get that oil drain plug back in and get it back together, and we'll move on to the oil filter. Now that it's just dripping a little bit of oil, I'm gonna put the drain plug back in, and then we're gonna tighten that. And you don't want to do too tight, but you don't want it loose either. So I just snug it up, but factory spec is 15 foot-pounds, so just go to 15 foot-pounds, and if you have a torque wrench, and you can get that to spec. So now that that's done, we're gonna wipe up the old oil there. Now we're gonna go to the top and do the oil filter. Just something to note here, when you go to change the filter, there's this little hole right here. So when we have it down on the ground, we're gonna change it from the top of the engine. Now when you slide your drain pan in, line the middle of the drain pan up with this hole, and you'll have that drain from the oil filter hit right into the middle of that pan. So we're gonna slide that underneath there once we get the car down. Get that lined up under there. Yep, so we got it lined up down there. So from the top of the engine, right past the oil dipstick, is the filter. So we're going to change that, but make sure you watch out for the exhaust manifold, because that is right there, right off the engine to the right of that oil filter. So we're going to want to change that oil filter. So I have a loop wrench. So we're going to use this loop wrench here. Sometimes they're loose enough by hand. Let's see if that's true. And that's not. So we're going to use this little loop wrench here. They do have these at any automotive store. So we're going to slip the wrench. Just kidding. We're going to get this off of here. Okay, now that I got it loose with the wrench, it should come loose with my hand. I think that's draining out in the pan. I hope so. We're going to continue. Alright. So yeah, that went into the pan. And we're going to take that up and out. Let that drain out into the pan. And we're going to set this off to the side. I'm going to save that for later, and I'll show you why. So we will be using a Wix filter. So I got this from O'Reilly's here at our local O'Reilly's, which I actually work for too. And I still work for the dealership. So that's probably why you haven't been seeing too many videos, because I got 2 jobs. But this is the filter I'm using. This is the filter it called for in O'Reilly's system. WL10255. Wix has had a really good reputation and still does to this day. There's a lot of videos of showing how Wix is still a quality oil filter when they separate the casing and show you what's going on inside there. So that's why I chose a Wix. So with that being said, like I said, we're going to show you how to check the filters here. Hold on one second. So I left this filter in the drain pan, and what I like to do is I like to kiss the filters together. And you go, Eric, why do you do that? Well, for one reason, it checks to see if that old seal is still on the filter and not on the car. Secondly, it lubricates the new seal on the new oil filter. Now we can take that and we can go back into the engine bay and put this new filter on. Okay. Now this is what a lot of people and a lot of shops tend to do, is just over tighten that oil filter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tighten it with my least dominant hand. Okay, so I'm going to take my left hand And I'm just gonna spin that on as hard as I can with my left hand, which is my less dominant. So now when I go to change this filter out, I can take my right hand and just crank that right off. And my left hand is strong enough to tighten that down, so it's not over tight and you can just get it right off. I like doing it that way just because it's easy to change, you're not struggling, and it's not over tightened, because a lot of shops will just zip those things right on with whatever and it's just way too tight. So the next step, we're going to fill the engine with oil, which we are going to be using 5W30 as the car calls for. I'm using 5W30 from the dealership I work for, which is a semi-synthetic blend 530, and I believe it's from Motorcraft. And we're going to be putting in 6 quarts into this car. And that's what this car takes, 6 quarts of oil. Can we get that filled up real quick? Alrighty, so now that we got the oil filled, we're going to take our oil cap and we are going to install that back on. Boom, there, that's done. Now I'm going to put the oil dipstick back in, and what we're going to do is we're going to start the car and then check for any leaks. Nothing there. Nothing down there. So it should be good. I'm going to shut the car off real quick. And we're going to check our oil level. Alrighty. So first, take the dipstick out. We're going to wipe the dipstick off, and then we're going to insert it back in, and then we'll have our proper oil level reading. So we are right in the hash marks there on the bottom. I don't know if you can see that. Kind of hard to see, but we are within spec on there. It's just so clear you can't even see it in the film. All right, so that's good. Make sure all my caps are good. All right, everything's good there. So now I'm just going to shut the hood. Boom. That's pretty much it. Now you can get it off the jack stands or ramps, or just drive it out of the garage. And then once we get it outside, I'll show you how to reset the oil life gauge. So let me get it off this lift and we'll get it going. Show you how to do that. Alrighty, so now that we have the vehicle out of the garage, we can reset the oil life. So we're gonna turn the vehicle on. You have your set of buttons right here to work the gauges in the cluster here, and we want to go to the car with the eye right here. We're gonna hit that button and we're gonna go to the oil life. Now I got that up on the screen there, and we are going to hit the check mark and hold the check mark, and now we're at 100%. So hit the little car with the eye on it, get it to the oil life remaining, then hold the check mark right here. Hold that down until you see that go to 100%, and at that point your oil life has been reset. Alrighty, so ran down to Ryan. I got an oil change sticker for it. There is 227,000 miles on this car, almost 228. We got the oil change sticker set at 3,000 miles, and that should be good. So I'd like to thank you guys for watching. Definitely hit the subscribe button. If this video helped you, hit the thumbs up. Leave a comment down below. I usually respond to almost every message. There's some that get through the cracks, but yeah. But thanks for watching. Have a good day or night or whatever you're having. See you guys. Bye.